Well, they did both say that they knew they were going into menopause because they were having hot flashes, and I just wanted women to know there are some alternatives to the hormone therapy for dealing with hot flashes. Apparently that works very well when you are on hormone therapy to stop the hot flashes, but you normally do not continue on hormone therapy for the rest of your life, so at some point it's something that you're probably going to have to make that transition and deal with it at some point. So are you going to be more prepared to do it at 48 for 950, or are you going to, when you stop the therapy, maybe 5 years later? Okay. And look into it. There are some natural ways to deal with it, maybe through different herbs or different exercise, all the other things that I talked about, rest. Make sure you look into your alternatives.
Okay. Norma Jean?
Well, I was struck by the second young woman who was speaking to her doctor, and he says, well, you couldn't be because you're not 50 yet, and that you're too young. And I think that's one of the things that we as women need to take responsibility for, is that our own reading, our own talking with other friends, and realize that the medical profession doesn't have all the answers, and that we need to pay attention to what's going on inside of us.
That's right.
And just because someone says, oh no, you couldn't possibly, ask around, check out people, you know.
Yeah, get maybe another opinion.
Another opinion, exactly.
Yeah, because I would imagine that sense of anxiety or would increase if your doctor's telling you, oh, it couldn't be. Because it's like she said, well, maybe then I have a tumor, or maybe I have cancer. I mean, there's a lot of fear about that.
Exactly.
Now, right before, or actually during the break, Norma Jean made a very interesting point, I think, don't you? Yes. About women who have waited later to have children. So there they are, having both the experience of child care or childbearing and perhaps entering menopause at the same time. And I just find that very, very interesting. I was hoping you would speak more about that.
Well, we just find more and more women are delaying having children, both marriage as well as children, because of their careers. And so they've reversed the cycle that we have seen as traditional over the years. And so here's a woman nursing her baby, and she's in sweats, you know, going, what's wrong with me? And again, that internalization of guilt, something's wrong because I'm not doing this the way I'm supposed to do it. And also at the same time, she may be caring for her aging parents, and so she's got that tweener hitch. Yes. You know, she's between many cycles, many stages all rolled up at the same time, and it can be very stressing because she's not able to take care of herself. She's got many obligations, and I think it behooves us to find support networks and support systems so that we do cope better with our, and more normally with our own changes.
That's right, and as you used the word normalized before, and that's, right. I think that's key. What about that in terms of taking care of ourselves physically? If there we are, we're nursing, we're beginning to have hot flashes, and our parents are getting ill. Or getting older. I mean, as a chiropractor, what in the world can we do?
Wow, that is the big challenge. That seems like a case where you just have to block some time for yourself to, you know, maybe see a counselor to help you deal with some of the anxiety you may be going through and the guilt over trying to be a nurturer yet feeling like you need to turn inward. And once again, you just have to find the time to take care of yourself so you can be a better mother and caretaker too. At the same time, by taking care of your nervous system, of course, which is where I always will come in, and that's what chiropractors help you to do. And
how do you do that?
Well, I work with something called, I find and correct something called a vertebral subluxation, which is a misalignment of one or usually several bones of the spine. When those misalignments occur, it can cause pressure on the nerves, and your nervous system, then your nervous system isn't working right. Your nervous system controls your endocrine system, which is your hormone system. So if it's already a little out of, you know, or coming, not out of balance, but coming to a new balance, and you've got an imbalance from another source, perhaps from your nervous system, you're really going to find yourself way out of balance. So if you normalize it in any way you can by making sure you have no vertebral subluxations, making sure you get exercise and enough rest, trying to fit it all in. I'm a mother of a young child, and trying to be a doctor and a mother, I'm very torn in those same areas and have trouble fitting it in, but you have to.
Yeah, it does come down to that, doesn't it?
You just have to
make yourself a priority. Let's take a look at some of the other psychological ramifications of going through this transition. Oh, we have depression, characterized by fatigue and absence of a sense of purpose or worth, and the sexual functioning that Norma Jean mentioned, maybe an increase or decrease in desire and response. Okay, and you opened and mentioned that that is often what brings maybe a woman into counseling, saying, what's wrong with me that I'm no longer attracted to my spouse?
And ironically, much of the literature indicates that it can be an increase in sexual time for a woman. And it's almost she's free from, if she's gone through the cycle where her kids are now in college or out of the home, there is a renewed freedom because she can have intercourse or contact with her husband without fear somebody's going to walk in on her, or worry that the children are out too late, or a baby's crying in the other room.
Or worry that you're going to get pregnant.
Or you're going to get pregnant. Exactly the bottom line, though in this generation it's probably not as crucial as the others because we do have methods. But nonetheless, she might even be coming into a more exciting time, and her husband is waning in interest as he hits his 50s and 60s. That he's not as interested in sexuality. He may be more interested in other aspects of the relationship. And so it's again this missing and feeling it's abnormal rather than normalizing.
That is a cruel thing of nature, isn't it? I wonder why we were built that way. Where we begin to come into our own and they slow down. I don't understand it myself.
As long as you can catch it as it's going by.
There's that moment in time.
Right there.
Yes, well, and imagine that even, and you're also talking about, because I've had clients talk about this, where they have an increase in desire, but they are experiencing physical pain. And I know that that's one of the key medical signs, actually, for going into menopause, has to do with dry vagina. I guess we're not lubricating the same way we used to as the hormones change.
There's not a whole lot of great resources on what to do about that one particular problem, other than from all the other aspects. The better you take care of your body, the better you're going to function overall. And actually, the most that I've seen is if you don't use it, you lose it. So it's almost like you have to get through it and continue to undergo intercourse to be able to get the lubrication you need.
Okay.
And there's always the helpers, you know, KY and all those, but I mean, it's not the same, I'm sure. Okay. But I haven't really seen a good resource, so I'm hoping when it comes to that day, somebody will find something, or you deal with it the best you can.
Yeah. And again, it's that word, you know, this is a phase as opposed to always
I think it's only temporary, at least.
I have also found that people have to find a different way of getting into the mood. I mean, the old methods don't maybe work as well or as fast anymore. And sometimes a woman can begin, if she knows that she wants to have intercourse that night and her husband, you know, doing the little cock dance, you can, you know, the barnyard dance, that she can begin to think a little bit more about intimacy. She can think about and get her own body a little bit more prepared so that she is maybe feeling a little bit more sensuous before it begins rather than waiting for the moment to begin.
Okay.
And I found that with some clients that works quite effectively.
So again, you're talking about us really taking some personal responsibility.
You bet.
For, you know, whether we're going to enjoy this point in our life or whether we're really going to see it. I know for a lot of women, they see it like as a curtain dropping, and it's kind of like, okay, well, you know, that part of my life is over.
Right.
Yeah.
Although, as I am remembering, going back in all the research I've done, there are some certain vitamins that do seem to help with that. I believe it's vitamin E, so there is some hope, come to think of it. So once again, I'll reiterate that fact of, you know, look up all the resources. There's got to be something out there that will help.
How about that depression? The depression. I know that at the beginning when we had Kathy Bates' character crying, you know, and that loss of sense of worth. I don't know, you know, what my purpose is anymore. You know, when clients come in, what do you talk about with them about that?
Well, a couple of things that I have found is this is one that we can't avoid. It's not one we can run from. We can't go into denial about. We can't say it's something else. And it may be the first time that a woman really has to face into her problems and face into her life and what's going on. And sometimes the increase of depression may be because she has denied a great deal of loss and change in her life prior. And so with those that I see, it's often of kind of peeling back and where might the losses have been. And then the depression seems to, she's more able then to take control of her own life and realize this is a passage, this is not terminal.
Okay. So really saying, it's almost what you're talking about sounds to me like an existential crisis, or like this moment of truth happens, and we may be able to pretend some other things aren't happening with us physically, but emotionally it will be before us.
Right.
Okay. Do you find that women enter a period of creativity during this time? I mean, I know it's an opportunity to. I don't know if you encourage your clients to journal and do some painting, or you know, do whatever it is, but to be able to get a visual picture for the transition that they're going through.
I like the way you said that. In the middle of the transition, finding a way of characterizing that and living in the moment and not missing it. What is the poignancy of that? And not saying I want to get through it to something else. Once that has been accepted, I like to encourage women to start dreaming. And to have a new dream, a new vision for themselves that isn't related to their children, it's not related to their husbands, but it's their very own that they can fulfill, because a good half of our adult life is still ahead of us.
You bet. We're going to need to close. I want to thank you so much for being here. This is a fascinating topic, I think. Thank you for being with us tonight. In the upcoming weeks, we'll look at psychiatric medication, impaired health professionals. I'm Mary Crocker Cook. Good night.